Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. So last night I was getting all cozy in my little bed. By the way, it's kind of cold, and with the window open and a big blanket, it's so cozy. um, and I did what they tell you not to do, which is I went on my phone and started looking at some comments from you guys. And they were all very nice, so it was a good way to go to bed. But one commenter, Dev, said, I'd like to see you do a video about water towers. And this is one of those subjects that's like right up my alley, because at first you're like, duh, Dev, water towers. I mean, we all know about water towers. But then as I sat there, I was like, I don't know. What's the deal with water towers? Like, do we still need water towers in this day and age? Can't we just pump water from a facility to your house? So I was like, tomorrow morning, I will try to remember to look into water towers. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And it is morning here. And so I'm multitasking because I have to get some other things done. And so I have my morning breakfast smoothie with me, which, if I remember, I will try to post like a little link right here for the recipe because it's delicious and so healthy. And I have it often in the morning in lieu of other food because it's a lot all by itself. And I think it has really helped me with, staying trim. Anyway, all right, so water towers are those things you see in all your towns. Like, we've all seen them driving around the country. If you haven't, I'll draw one for you in a minute so you can kind of get a look at it. But they are basically just towers that hold a whole bunch of water. And the original water towers, they had them like in Rome, more like with the, water ducts, the viaducts, what's the word I'm looking for? Aqueducts. Those go way back. But then in like the 1700s in France and England, they started to build them more in towns and everything to hold the water for that town. And then in the 1800s in the US, that's when they really started to take off in the US. I forgot my iPad. Shucks. I was going to look. I might start over. No, I'll just tell you about it. I'll just try to remember. All right. There was the very first water tower. And I had pulled it up on Wikipedia and I was going to look at it with you. But I think it's in Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm sorry if I'm wrong about that. I think that's right. And it was like the reason I was reading their page, and the reason they built it was that there was disease that, because of runoff from probably sewage and stuff, was getting into the well water. And so the government knew, like their local government, I guess, I don't know. Those who knew that people were all getting sick and dying because of the tainted well water. And so that is why they built that water tower, so they could put fresh water up in the tower and hold it there for the people of the town. I think that's right. I wish I had my iPad. But anyway, so that's kind of the gist of a water tower. I have here a horse. That has nothing to do with it. It's a beautiful painting. It's on the back of this one. Okay. So I couldn't find my watercolor paints. Probably because I haven't painted it since my kids were young. And they're just gone. I thought there'd be more crayons there. Hold on. I have another box here. My Crayola. Oh my gosh. The smell of crayons is just such a, blast from the past. Okay, so the way a water tower works is, these things hold like a lot of water depending on the size of the town. They can hold like, I think it was like 50,000 gallons of water generally. Okay, hold on. I thought this crayon was black. Didn't you think that's black? It's blue. All right, so the water is held up here in the tower, and it uses gravity to push the water down. It creates pressure when it's coming down. That creates like the PSI, the pounds per square inch, to push the water out to all of your houses and your fire hydrants and businesses. And so generally in the daytime, there's a lot of water use. So these are pushing a lot of water out. At night, they use pumps to pump water into the tower to hold it until the next day. So it's a constant flow of water coming in. It's not like it sits here and it's held. It is a constant flow of water. And there's usually enough water in the tank to supply a town for a day or two. It's not like, a lifetime supply of water. It holds enough for a couple of days. But the main thing is, if there's ever an issue over here at the water main, they have the water in the tank. They can keep water flowing. And it creates the pressure from the tank. I think that's what I read. Now I'm questioning that in my head, but I think that's right. I should have started with, I'm no expert on water or water towers. I literally spent half an hour today researching it before coming on here to talk to you. So please, please, please do more looking into it if you're curious. What color is this? Earth brown? I'm looking for black. Oh, well, we'll do it purple. And some water towers, they'll like paint with the town's logo or their mascot, something like that. It's like this town is the Greenfield Kitty Cats. So they have a kitty cat logo. There he is. And so they kind of become like something people like to look at and see, their town's water tower. One thing I was trying to look up because I was curious about, one time my son and I were doing what's called James Bond showers, or Wim Hof method of freezing yourself. And he had a reason to do it because he ran cross country. But I was just doing it because I was kind of curious about it. And but then the water started to get too cold for me, and I was like, I can't do them anymore. But he kept doing them. Well, then one day it was like very, very cold, like, freezing, well below freezing. Let's say it was in the negatives. And he decided to do a ice shower or whatever, which is what we would do, is kind of run the warm, take your regular shower, and then sort of slowly go cooler, and then shut it, and you take a freezing cold shower. In the summertime, it's kind of refreshing. In the winter, it's unbearable for me. But he did that, and he was young. He was, a young guy. And he cut the hot, and it was so cold that it like made him freeze up. And he grabbed onto the shower curtain and pulled the curtain down and fell out of it. And luckily, he didn't get hurt, but it sounded like crazy insanity going on in the bathroom. He had locked the door. I'm like, what's that? And so after that, I was like, gosh, I guess the water in the pipes just gets really cold. But I think what actually happened is these water towers are, they do get affected by temperature. They don't freeze up because they have enough water flow coming in and out of them all the time. And if they're in a really, really, really cold environment, they might keep something to keep it constantly moving, like moving water doesn't freeze up as easily. And they may put some insulation on it, but it can definitely affect how cold your water is. Because it kind of freeze along the outside edges. So you might have frozen water in there, but the rest is unfrozen. And also, likewise, in like Arizona, where it's burning hot, they a lot of times will paint them white so that it reflects the sun, but the water will warm up. It can get to like, a lukewarm temperature from sitting in their water towers there. So it does affect it. I remember growing up near my Aunt Mary's house, there was a water tower. And when I was little, she used to always tell me that she was going to go climb the tower and paint it to look like an apple. And every year when we went there, I was like looking at the tower to see if it looked like an apple. But having said that, that is like actually, there haven't been, I looked to see, have there been like disasters with water towers? And kind of the biggest thing is people climbing them. I know my kids, my teenagers, one time, they ran because they were runners in the middle of the night to a tower. They were going to climb it. I'd have to ask them. I don't remember if anyone actually did end up. I hope not. But I can't recall now. But they put like chain link fences and all sorts of barriers around them now, because it used to be like a silly thing. There was a movie. What was it called? What's Eating Gilbert Grape? With Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio. And the character, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Arnie, he would like climb the tower in that town all the time. Do you guys remember that? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but yeah, that's kind of looks like where most injuries occur with these things. The other thing is, in very cold climates where it can ice up, sometimes there can be little like micro leaks, or just, I don't know why, but water will kind of freeze on the outside. Maybe it's even just snow on top, who knows? I don't know. But they get ice falls. And so like giant chunks of ice will come crashing down. So some areas have to kind of close the area around their water towers to keep ice falls from happening. They can also, because they're tall and they're metal, they tend, let's see if I can draw this. That's not very good. They tend to get struck by lightning, and it can be quite a sight. So something fun to look out for. Oh, one thing I read, they said that some water towers that are decommissioned, so they don't need them anymore, people have used the tower to build like houses and restaurants, or lookout towers, which makes sense to me. But I was like, what? I need to see one of these houses in one of these towers. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Oh, I know. I read about one too in South Carolina. It was in Gaffney, South Carolina, and they've painted it so it looks like the world's largest beach. So it must be a round one. I always think of this shape, but they make them round. They make them like, what do you call that? Geometric kind of. I think some of them go up like that. But the really most important part isn't the shape of the reservoir, I guess I could call it, but the height. The higher it is, the more gravity you can use for the water. So this is the water. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I know what else I read, like skyscrapers, like really tall ones in New York City. They have to have these small water towers right on the top to, hold water to push it down because they'd be like taller than the tower, I guess. It makes me think of that one murder in like LA where the lady was in the water cistern thing. I think that's what that was. That's what made me think of. They're usually about I think they're usually about 200, like 120 to 200 feet tall is what I read. So pretty high up there. And across the whole of the United States, they said they're 50 to 55,000. I'm surprised we don't have an official count. Like, how hard would that? So, and it's, they're kept up by basically taxpayer dollars. And, I know I made the video where I said, like, none of us want to pay taxes. But you got to pay some taxes to cover things like this and roads and libraries and, all the things that we use as a community day to day. Yeah, so all the water that's in here is what they call potable water or drinking water. So it's already been cleaned. It's gone through the water treatment facility. It goes into the tower, clean drinking water, and then it goes directly out of here into your houses. So there's no filtering system within the tower as far as I could tell. Which is another reason, they got to spend money on these things with upkeep. They have to check and make sure there's no sediment accumulating or bacteria or anything like that, obviously, because you don't want that going into your drinking water. What else about water towers? I gotta pull these crayons out. I can't see what I'm looking at. I don't know. I can't think anything else. $200 Let's see, a big evergreen might get to like 80 feet. Right about there. All right, do you guys have any water tower stories? I just know there's more that I'm forgetting, but in England, they made them like out of brick. I saw some pictures. In fact, I think the one if it's Louisville, Kentucky, if I had that right, but the first one, I think that one, It's kind of interesting because they made it out of like stone or whatever, but there was like a water. I think, I think if I remember correctly, there's like a water treatment area below it. So they designed it to look like, you know, I don't know what you'd call it, like a Greek temple or something. Like it's all white, you know, brick. It's really cool. It's really interesting. That's why I wanted to show you pictures, but oh well. Put some trunks on those trees. Yeah. I'm trying to think like the most interesting water tower I've ever seen. I don't know. I can't. I feel like I've seen some that are definitely painted like, you know, with, well, I know I've seen one that says like Ford on it. So that's probably outside of a plant. So maybe they have their own water tower for their like Ford plant. Or maybe they just paid for it. I don't know. Yeah. See, whenever I have a smoothie while I'm making it, and I never remember to have any. So yeah, during the day, they make sure it's full of water in the morning so they can use it throughout the day. And then at night, they pump water back into it and then use it the next day. Yep. This kind of looks like it's going to come alive like War of the Worlds. Where'd my purple go? Let's color in this purple kitty. Purple kitty. Home of the purple kids. Somebody should use a